Greetings from Marchscarf, and today we're going to talk about the 5 things that I would lose control over, or at least have some altering changes if I became an ANCAP for real. So, anarchy, or even capitalism as particulars, they could be. I've talked about them in this channel, if it's Marchscarf, by the way, but like if it isn't, I'm sorry. But anyways, on the Marchscarf channel, there should be 2 videos. One labeled "They're kind of an anarchist," no, they're kind of an anarcho-capitalist, and the other one was the Anarchy as a last resort to agorism, whatever else. And so those in particular, those were videos I really enjoyed making. But for the case of this video, I'm going to talk about the 5 things that I would actually have some changes if I didn't do them. So the thing with Olympics is that the Olympic Games was something I was already into a lot of the time. And at least not until recent years, I was actually really getting the hang of the idea that I might have the fitness capacity, however blessed in my genetics I was with that. Not even going to be shout out by genetics, but even with like other things like practicing other healthy lifestyle changes and other things. So, in a nutshell, I was someone who thought they could do well in the Olympics and maybe even be a participant or even be actually really doing really well at it, potentially getting a medal. And I'm not trying to be humble bragging about that too much or even be overly ambitious or over the top. But with regards to the Olympics, there is a problem with being an anarchist that might affect this because there's a little bit of a white market influence that comes from the Olympics. I'm not so sure how that works, but like even with the way you get funded for being an Olympian athlete, but the reason I wanted to go over the top with the Olympics was because I wanted to see how I could go all or nothing with my fitness life. And I didn't have to be that way, but that was just how I was. So, but in regards to anarchy, I think it was going to be a little bad because I think if I were to really truly be an anarchist, I wouldn't want to have to deal with the Olympic Games in the first place, honestly. I wouldn't have to deal with those things because I know that if I was going to be a fitness person, either way, to be healthy, or whatever other innovations in the anarchist world or Ancapistan would count for it, I wouldn't want to just get to the all out in some kind of glorification of being a fitness person to prove that either way, but if that makes sense. But I just wanted to make sure that I didn't just do that because I didn't know any better, or I didn't just want to be an athlete to be healthy, but to actually be successful at being healthy, and I had something to prove all the time. But yeah, anarchy would just affect us to an extent. I hope it wouldn't be too bad, but that's just what I think of it so far. So for the Olympic Games, either 2024, 2028, or 2032, any of the ones that they have in the future, however long I live for these, or being able to do them, that was going to be affected by anarchy to an extent. That's just what I thought about that. So that's the Olympics. The next thing I have for you guys is the Power Apps division stuff from Microsoft I've been doing. Yes, Microsoft, but sorry about that. But you know, I happen to be someone who has been doing the Power Apps courses from Udacity. Again, yeah, another website there. But I don't know if I should be too picky about that, saying that. But yeah, Power Apps was a low-code, no-code solution from Microsoft that they offered for people who didn't want to have to do hardcore computer science in a sense. But they're very invigorating and inspirational aspects to this kind of stuff. I was very inspired by what they did with the implementation of such a thing, where you don't have to be a hard skilled computer scientist or like a super intelligent person to do these things, or a super results oriented person. You can just work with what you have and be resourceful and actually implement your code, as in low code, no code platform of Power Apps or Power Platform for that matter, and use it in such a really good way. Now this, I can take a lot of these things either way with me into the anarcho-capitalist world, agorism, counterculture, etc. I can take many of these lessons I learned from doing Power Ups and take them with me into anarchy and my societal living for politics. But I didn't want to make it so that I learned skills I didn't have to make any useful anymore because I would be an anarchist. Because if I really think about it, pretty much everything I'm doing in Power Ups might be rendered useless in the future if I'm doing. Because even with computer science, there's things like innovations that can be done differently. I've had friends that from the potential politics realm of these things, and they indicated that there's secrets to comp sci that not even real computer scientists will know too well. I'm sorry, that's just how I'm understanding it so far. But with Power Apps, I do feel very invigorated by what I've been doing so far and learning about the AI builder and the Flow Automate and the Power Apps stuff I've been doing, the Scratch app development. So I don't think of it as being too much of a sunk cost fallacy. It's just that if I did want to do more Power Apps and I still wanted to live without the Power Apps division, but other things I could learn from it, that'd be a good thing overall. So Power Apps is still worth it, even if it was only for Anarchy. So anyways, that was Power Apps. Next thing we got is the Cal Arts part of these things, or more specifically cartooning and claymation. I could probably link more pictures on the screen if I want to about this, but basically I am a cartoonist by heart, whether I like to believe it or not, that makes me an artist and animation person. That's because I also am good at stop motion animation, claymation, all that stuff. So CalArts was just the ideal art school I would want to go to. It would have to be the high-end art schools like CalArts, but it's just any art school in particular. If I really want to go to college at some point and actually commit to it, with college in particular, even people who actually aren't anarchists don't have to say that. Like, I think, because there are people who aren't even truly anarchists that actually have said that college could be a scam, if not already is a scam, depending on what you do with it, or what you do with the loans, or if you even have to do loans, if you grant you're lucky. But even then, the idea was that understandably, if you didn't have any debt from college getting out, you're really lucky, because even without being an anarchist, you're still doing yourself a favor. But like, in a nutshell, I was trying to be a cartoonist and a claymation animator in the meantime. Whether I believe there's a big gambit about me trusting creativity, I can make another video, but basically, I did have a talent for art and animation and creativity. So if I went to art school for this, then it would be a weird problem, because if I did this for anarchy's sake, I would have to make sure I don't have debt, or I don't have ties to a societal state or governed legislation. It's like state or government like ties or anything like that. That does what would most likely happen because of going to college or university. I'm not too sure about how that works. Thank God I'm talking about this on Marchscarf, by the way, because I want to explain this on the main channel, but Dr. ABC, by the way. But yeah, being a cartoonist and a claymation animator doesn't necessarily mean I have to go to college for it, either with anarchic capitalism. But it's just a thought, because to be specific about art in particular, I think I could be creative in my own ways that could help things like anarchy and my own independence and self government and all that. That's with Autogy, by the way. Yeah, that's with CalArts and cartoon claymation. So yeah, so the next thing we have is strategic planning, and this is more of a thing that comes into the line of maybe CEO stuff, which would be a big no for anarchy, I guess, maybe. But with strategic planning, I heard that strategic planning was one of my skills that I actually would be really passionate and talented at from doing the Bergman test from like workforce solution I did a few years ago. And the test was pretty accurate, because I do think I am a good strategic person and planning style person. I find that strategic planning would probably be one of the most successful things I would ever do in my life, even if under the reign of anarcho-capitalism, or agorism, whatever, counter-economics. The thing that would change about this is that I wouldn't be able to, like I said, I wouldn't be able to be like a chief correspondent to too many things. If it was under private organization stuff, and if it was actually trying to be more of a well-organized but not too overly centralized thing, then I wouldn't be able to do this in a different... There's probably a way this would work in Kapistan. Like, if I had strategic planning and I was a strategic planner for a thing that was privately organized, then that would make sense. I don't have to get too deep into that right away, but basically, I would probably be able to plan like how organizations interact with each other. The funny thing is that if I was trying to only organize how they would interact but not be overly governed, that's possible for what I'm doing. I wouldn't have to be a jerk about that, but just or even be weird about that, but just I'm sure that would work in my favor. I can be passionate and talented about that, be a strategic planner for like a private organized company, and then just work from there. But I still got quite a bit of time this editor. I'm actually doing this on a whim, voiceover for predetermined 2-minute sections of this whole video. So the only other thing I would say about this is that I agree that I'm a strategic planner by heart. It would suck if that changed a lot because I was an anarcho-capitalist, but or some other kind of libertarian person. But I think, because this is related to the business end of things. And if it was a business change, and obviously CEO would be out the window. But the strategic planning shouldn't be too bad, I guess. Hopefully not. So yeah. Anyways, we got that out of the way, and finally we have the Air Force or otherwise military connections, which again could be a very big no for anarchy, because this is actually one of the more extreme examples of what would be really very much indeed different with a anarchist lifestyle. In fact, it's actually so bad with this that if you really are trying to be an anarchist yourself, be very aware of the fact that if you enter the army, you have to make up your mind about what you want. Are you going to be secretive for them, or for yourself, or for the people that you love that may or may not be anarchists? How are you going to deal with that, and so forth? And that's a very important decision to consider, is because if I've heard in recent actually that if you're in the army and you don't even keep their secrets safe, you can get into very serious trouble, and that's just with them. Not keeping your friends' secrets safe, especially the anarchist circles and communities, that's going to be its own issue altogether. But with the army, they really go head over heels on the idea of their secrecy and their correspondence being very on top of what they know and what they're not going to reveal to other people's, especially their enemies and their rivals. And I know I sound like I'm talking like out of my butt right now, but that's just why I'm understanding from what I'm hearing lately about actual anarchists, maybe myself, maybe other people that had to keep secrets for both sides and for both sides, and had to make sure that they were not being cheating on either end. That's why you have to make a decision. That's why it's best to make the decision whether you're going to actually be in the army and not an anarchist, or be an anarchist and not go to the Navy or the Marines or whatever, Air Force. I have the Air Force logo right here because that was one of my ideals for what I would have done in the future if I wasn't an anarchist. But if assuming that I become an anarchist, this would never come to fruition. I'm not gonna complain about that too much. I think I would be able to live with that fact. But even the pension ideals of the Air Force would be pretty bad, or the military in particular. But just because pensions can technically be lies. I know that even without having to be another anarchist. But like, that's all I got for you guys for now.